another roundtable discussion of the Bible of Bike Tests. We're talking about the Giant Glory here with Ryan, Squirrel, and Seb. I really think it's a great platform. I mean, as a whole, it's an amazing bike.
Really, Travis, as a whole?
Yeah, as a whole, like, you get a rad component spec. I think a really good suspension platform. The geometry is really dialed. They dial it in a little better this year. It's a little longer. They slacked out the head angle. It's what, 63 and a half?
63 and a half, supposedly. Well, that was the thing. My whole ride on the Glory, I was thinking it didn't feel like 63 and a half. It didn't feel as slack as they're advertising it. It didn't feel that they've lengthened out a great deal. Like, I still felt it was a little bit on the pedestrian side.
It's, I think, a really good value. So it's $6,200, and you get, I don't think there's much above the front and rear shock that's on it. You get the beginning and end stroke rebound adjustment on the rear shock, which, granted, I'd love to have high and low speed compression dampening, but you get that on the fork. Mm-hmm. And then it's an air preload fork. And that was one of my favorite things, is that I want it to be a little more comfortable in the flats, not just going straight down steep. So I don't need the fork to be crazy stiff. And the spec otherwise is great. Carbon is really trustworthy, and then they beef up the spindle so it's a little more burly.
But it's a really versatile crank as well. I mean, you could take that crank off, put it on a different bike. You can change the spider out, put a double on it. You could, even put a XX1 spider on it if you wanted to later. Mm-hmm. I really like the versatility of the XO crank.
And it's made from carbon. The frame, however, is made from, what do they call it? Alux?
Alux, yeah.
It's the future of aluminum.
Really?
Yes.
Because I thought the future of aluminum was carbon fiber.
With it not being carbon, I thought it was a really stiff platform and light weight as well. For an aluminum bike, I thought it was quite feathery.
I hung it up. It's about 36 pounds or so.
Which is that's really light.
Which is really heavy for an old man. Oh, it's a downhill bike. Sorry, it's a downhill bike.
Amazing.
Yeah. Because it did pedal really well. It was able to move around. I think with some changes and some tweaks, I'd probably feel more comfortable to hammer on this as a downhill bike. But I felt straight out of the box, it wasn't ready to go at the caliber it should be.
Yeah, I didn't feel super inspired on the bike. Mm-hmm. I felt comfortable on it. And I like the way it pedaled. I was pretty pleased with the way that the bike rode, but nothing really stood out. There were a couple sections where I felt like I was going faster, a couple sections where I felt like I was going slower. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it didn't really feel like a World Cup winning bike.
It was, in a way though, this was the bike I probably got down the hill on fastest because I wanted the ride to be over.
Oh.
No, I mean, it's been a bit extravagant with those words, but I mean, there was other bikes in this category that offered so much more fun and capability on the trails that we were riding. And
it wasn't as flickable and it didn't have as much of the playfulness as some of the other bikes do.
It is though. It really is a fast bike, I think, and whether it's the most fun or not is a moot point if you're trying to get to the bottom of the hill faster than everybody else.
Yeah. We've ridden some other bikes, and some of the other bikes just feel so good because it's all those the devil in the details, and they've done things like putting the right components, right bars on there, and that's a big thing. You get on these bikes and you feel great. This bike feels like, yes, it's been ridden by world champions, and it's got a caliber. There's a big team behind it and a caliber of engineers, no doubt, but it just doesn't feel like the last person to sign off on this bike knows what they're doing.
Yeah. Well, there you have it. Not all of us liked the whole bike, but the Glory there's something for everybody in there. And personally, maybe I liked it the most out of everyone, but I think you can have a blast on it no matter what you're doing. Set up the front and rear shocks wherever you want. It'll go fast. We all agree on that. So if you want to go fast, get a Glory.
As a whole, it's a pretty good bike.
I agree.